What's up, everybody who's here now? I am obviously waiting for Clif to show up. Thanks for joining me on an early Sunday morning. See some of you guys that are here right now. Deborah Long, Jacqueline Rosenfeld, somebody who is not telling me who they are. What's up to you? And then Michelle Chow. What's going on? I know that more people will be coming in, I'm sure, pretty soon here. Good to see everybody. Happy Sunday. The world is a very strange place right now. Keep your vibrations high. Stay in resonance. That's what's most important. Create your heaven on earth, which, as I always say, is the most important thing. The third dimension can unravel around you, but if you have your mind about you and your wits about you and you keep centered, you'll be good. There he is. There he is. What's up, my brother? Let's see here. I think you're on mute.
Okay, sound all right?
You sound amazing. How are you, brother?
Doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm good. Whenever Jay Campbell and Clif High can get together unimpeded, it's a good thing.
Yeah. So you're in California, right?
I am. Yeah, I'm actually in Murrieta. So about 50 miles south of LA. I think out of the blast radius.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, but you're still in occupied territory.
Yes, I am. I'm still in occupied territory, unfortunately. But hey, I think the majority of people living anywhere close to the big cities in the United States would probably be considered that, right?
I think so as well. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yep. It is what it is. Well, so let's get into it, man.
Sure.
I watched your last video. It was phenomenal. I noticed that you are always who you are, but you have a positive, I would say, vibe about you, and that the good guys at some point are going to win this, and that the dark side has shown their hand or tipped their cap. I mean, what are your thoughts like right now? I know obviously we are in not a kinetic war, but we are at war with the deep state, China, whomever they may or may not be. Obviously, there's a lot of sovereign countries involved in that, but like, what are your thoughts right now today on August 8th?
That we're in a strange kind of a war temporally, because we're going to have the victory before we have all the casualties. So we're winning now. We win the minute that the mainstream media is exposed and all of the people turn on them and we start seeing actions against them. That is like definitive proof that we have won, because that was just what happened at the end of the German Reich. Was the media, then the doctors, then the judges, and then the political officials were taken in that order. And so as the media goes, so shall this war go. We're just waiting. They've crumbled and crumbled and crumbled the last 5 years since Trump got in, and it's they're falling by the wayside by the day. So I can say temporally, I think we have won, and unfortunately, in this war, the suffering is yet to come.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Let me ask you. Obviously, I see your tweets. You see my tweets. I mean, it's almost insane looking around on social media now and seeing such, dissonant mindsets. I mean, I saw something that came out this morning, and obviously you and I are not, even though this is private, I don't even want to say it. We'll just say the V. But, a study just came out. It's published on a big website in England, an independent, of course, website. But it basically shows that anybody who gets it is filled now with spike proteins. Again, as you've been saying,
Correct.
for a year.
Correct.
So they can't continue to obfuscate the truth. But is it, Clif, so many people are brainwashed at this point from the narrative that it doesn't matter what truth or what information we put before them, they cannot see what is impossible for them to see?
There's a great deal of truth in what you say there, right? That the mind control is so deep and it's so inculcated to the very cells that these people are willing to accept the procedure and end up being self-exterminating. And we can't save them we can try. There are some that can still be awakened as we go forward, but we're at that point where you could say the sort of the battle lines have hardened. People are choosing sides spiritually, if not physically, right? You vibrate to it, or no, I don't want to listen to that, that sort of thing, right? And when you have those people with the no, they've got these barriers that have been placed in their minds, and those barriers have been put in there over a very long time by the mainstream media, who are, in my mind, very culpable in all of this.
Right.
So it's a very strange war, right? And it is an information war, but still people will be dying in ways, in numbers that we've not yet seen on this planet, if those numbers that they're giving now are accurate. So I don't trust anything coming out of the mainstream media. If they say any number of people are vaccinated in the United States or any of that, I don't trust their number. Right. And even if they were being honest in their reporting, they could not know, simply because of the way that data gathering goes at this stage. It's always very loose in terms of, what you're reporting up chain, right? Until you get it firm. So, and then we've got all these people that are wising up after the first one and not getting in it on the second one, but they're still being counted as being in that cohort of having committed to it and so on. And so there is this huge fog of war all over us now, even in the bright light of the day, and it is obscuring all of our thinking. Many of the people whose thinking is obscured have had specific psychological tools used to create specific psychological barriers. It is those barriers that they're having difficulty overcoming. And so you know when you run into these individuals, because their basic response to anything is denial, right? They deny you, they demonize you for bringing information they don't want to see. They want to do violence to you because you are doing the microaggression of using words that disturb their ideology. And that's really what's going on there, right? So they've built barriers that are fragile, and they want to protect those barriers with actual physical violence to protect the barriers within their mind. The good news, in a sense, it's sad, but the good news of all of this is that in the act of winning this war, we know that those people that are supporting and aiding the enemy as useful idiots will be dead. They will not be a problem for us this time next year.
Right. Well, so let me ask you, let's go deeper on that, because my assumption, and again, like you, we talk to very smart people. My business partner is a guy who helped design mRNA vaccines, Nick Andrews, of course, and, he told people about the spike protein stuff back in November, and I know going back last year, you were saying it too. We did a couple of shows together. We talked about it, but I mean, Cliff, the reality is it, and it's a question for you, are they, meaning the dark side, whoever they might be, are they going to get to a point within, say, 2 to 5 months from now, when people start keeling over, obviously due to the V, and not these fake, nonsensical, mutated variant things that they scream at us? Are they going to blame us, the unwashed, the non-V'd? Is that where it's going? I mean, do you see
they're going to try that, but here's the problem. Okay, the science is already out there.
Right.
You cannot have a variant come off of a person that has not had the shot.
Exactly.
Okay. So the people that are not that don't have the shot can in no way produce a variant that's going to impact the people with the shot. Their narrative is breaking down. When it breaks down, it's breaking down right now. Yes, they're trying to demonize. They're trying to split the society. It's an apartheid.
Right.
And basically they want us to be wearing der den Judenpost, okay, the little star on the arm, right? Okay, because we don't have their shot, and so that shot takes the place of that. So, but in any event, the narrative breakdown is chaotic. So they will not be able to maintain a uniform social engineering stance in the society that will support that. It's already breaking down now, in spite of the fact that they're just now rolling out that campaign. And so they have yet to put their maximum energy into it, and yet it's already failed. So they're running into some serious problems. I just posted a tweet with a short video of police in Argentina being stoned. And these, you kill people with stones at that level, right? There was probably that one guy was probably quite dead or severely brain damaged. And we're rapidly approaching that particular precipice where it will become necessary that the people become dynamic in their protest, not simply recipients of police action, of deep state action. When this occurs, it's my hope that we can do it non-violently. It's ever so much more scary if we were to go and capture all of those police and tie them up rather than stone them into submission, right? The stoning is brutal and violent. It gets the point across to the police, and it shows our anger, and it demonstrates who we are to the rest of the populace. But it could be very much more effective to just capture them, literally capture them, take the blows like Gandhi took the blows and just overwhelm them anyway, capture them, remove all of their gear from them, and then what are they? They are us. Right? That's all you have to do is take that black gear off of them, and they are us, and they're no longer a threat to anyone. Stripping away like that physical act of stripping off their body armor and capturing and stripping off their body armor in public and then releasing them, that sends a message to the people we're actually fighting that will scare the hell out of them.
You have to use that term people loosely.
Yeah, well, exactly, very loosely. But also, here's the thing, see, because their goal, okay, so the people that are sitting on our backs now, on humanity's collective backs, the parasites, their goal is to keep us fighting each other.
Right, exactly.
If we can demonstrate to other humans that we are enlightened enough, we are wise enough to know this and not have to kill them for what we perceive their crime of support of this evil cabal, then we win them, but we also scare the crap, because then the cabal knows their chief weapon is failing. Right. Unity gives us strength and destroys them.
I'm in 100% agreement with you. I mean, that's where it has to go. Let me ask you though, you obviously just put, I'm looking at that tweet, Argentina, and you can go around the world. I don't know if you've seen what's happening in Thailand, but man, I have a really good friend in Phuket, and he sent me a narrative that he posted on Facebook, which, by the way, they're, the social media companies, as you know, are censoring everything, anything that's real. Like you said in your video the other day, everything that comes out is a lie. There's nothing that comes out of their mouths that's not twisted and inverted. But he was telling me that, I mean, Cliff, for 2 weeks now, 95% of the stores are literally forcibly closed. They have food lines coming out of Circle K's or whatever I think they're called, the little short, the 7-Elevens. They have 7-Elevens in Thailand, and they're only open for like 3 or 4 hours a day. But, his point to me was like, you really have no idea how lucky you still are in the States that you can technically get in your car, drive, go to a grocery store, go wherever. They can't do any of it.
Okay, I can't. I'm up here in Washington State, and 2 days ago, they shut down a warehouse over here in Lewis County, about 90 or 100 miles from me. That warehouse supplies 828 grocery stores in Washington State, Oregon, and Idaho. The majority of these stores are in Washington. The majority of them, the major impact is in Western Washington. But so we've been notified by our local store, which now, bear in mind, I'm way out anyway, right? We're a big rural area, and I've got to drive 40 miles each way to get food. And so I've been told by that store, don't bother showing up if you want any of these kind of things, because we won't have them. And this whole thing was done on the phony PCR test, okay? Because they have no illness in the warehouse that caused the state to shut them down. The reason that they did it was because our governor, who did not win legitimately, we know that now, he was part of the fraud. He is intent on following the Marxist takeover plan for the US, which is to crush our supply chains through any and all means necessary. So they're using basically paperwork to shut everything down everywhere they can. And now they're running into the resistance. So I don't know how it's going to go for us in this state, but I consider myself to be living in basically like France in 1944 or 45. We're occupied, the resistance is forming, things are really starting to becoming dynamic, and hopefully we don't have to do any physical infrastructure damage to correct this. But our court system here in Washington State is even more captured than nationally. And so I doubt we'll ever get to the point where we can have an audit and thus start causing legal problems to them. Bear in mind that the thing that supports the cabal is three legs: a military, the judicial, and the media.
Right.
The military is uncertain in the United States. They cannot count on the United States military for what they want. That's why they're really hammering it with the CRT and all of that.
Right.
And things are not working for them. So all they really have are the media and the judicial. And once the media is gone, then the judicial is exposed as being corrupt. And so it should fall fairly quick thereafter. But that is their mainstay of correct authority. And so there will be a lot of people that will follow the judiciary and will take a long time before they see that the judiciary is a tool being used against them. Hopefully it won't take that within the rest of the United States, but I suspect that, we may be one of the last states to be liberated.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously I'm in California, also in occupied territory. There, as I tell people this all the time, where I live in Riverside County, it's a constitutional sheriff. Since I've moved down here, left LA, back in September of last year, Cliff, I've never worn a mask. The only time I have to wear a mask is if I go into Costco or, I get on a plane. But since I moved down here, this county is extremely, whatever you want to call it, conservative red. I mean, the sheriff, whatever his name was, he just resigned, but another guy, constitutional guy, took his place, told Gavin Newsom, you want some, come get some. So it depends on where you live in their pockets. But let me ask you this. Do you see, because obviously a lot of predictions are in the next 7 to 10 days, the fake administration is going to announce another lockdown and that they are going to impede the borders or do this or that. If that is announced, do you think Americans will actually even play along, or a lot of people will just like, no, we're not playing this anymore?
Yeah. No, they can't even do that. They're extremely weak. I think that the fake administration has revealed, it's revealed to me several things. First off, that the Chinese won't even deal with them now. Okay. Now everybody stops and says, well, okay, Biden's tough on China or something. No, it's not that. The CCP knows that they've been outed. Okay. So the CCP does not want to associate with somebody that's going to come out to be a known thief globally. And so they're trying to distance themselves as much as possible and try and prevent as much blowback to themselves as possible from their association with their owned creature, Beijing Biden. So if they do, I doubt that they will come out and say lockdowns, because here's the thing. That actually was one of their plans, but they're not strong enough to carry forward that plan. The plan had been to do the announcement, and that would actually drive the left and the right. It would bring the Trumpers out with BLM, and they were going to have big riots. And in the midst of that, Antifa, their agents, and the FBI were going to cause major problems dressed up as Trump guys, and thus be the reason that they would use to cause certain laws, again, their legal structure, to be enacted very quickly, from which they would use as a springboard to institute dictatorship 100%. Very much following the plans of, what was used in Germany in 1933. So they're following that, but they've got real problems now, in that there are people that are actively doing things to thwart them. And they're doing things behind the scenes, but the results of that activity is visible. So we can now see that the lockdown language has just plummeted right out of the administration. They're not ratcheting that up at all. It's as though they tied a rock on it and threw it into the ocean. So somebody somewhere clued them into for some reason that they should not go down that route. Now, it could be that they tried to do certain military maneuvers ahead of that would be necessary, and then discovered that the military was not cooperating. In which case, their false flag maybe should not happen, because it wouldn't happen the way that they thought. And if they don't have control, they don't want it to go out there. These people are very much like their proxies in court. And that is,
right,
an attorney will never, ever, ever ask you a question that he's not certain of the answer you're going to give, right? They don't want something unknown popping out in front of the jury. That's just the way that that the cabal acts in real life. So they don't want to pop up a lot of language with lockdowns and get that energy all ratcheted up to have it hard crash, because then it's like a spotlight right on them. It's better at this stage for it to sort of trail off, and then in a week people say, well, hey, what about that? So no, I don't suspect they're going to go that route, but they are going to try and ratchet up their false flags in other ways. However, my examination of the linguistics recently suggests that we've passed today or tomorrow, we're going to pass a point wherein the media will be forced into the defensive. Okay, so that they'll be playing catch up from that point forward. It won't be apparent the next day, but it might be apparent 3 days later as it starts to snowball on them, because the effect will be that there will be a big story. Say it's Mike Lindell, and they're going to try and they're going to have something else over here to try and distract from that. And no one's paying attention to the distraction, and they will continually have to reference the thing that they don't want to reference, the Streisand effect, to try and dampen it down. And then we'll get this interesting effect where 2 days later, they're looking backwards to something that happened 2 days past instead of staying current with the flow at the moment. And the further that they're dropping behind in time is our gauge of how much they are losing, right? Because events will rapidly progress, and we will find that the week after next, they're still talking about Mike Lindell. They're still trying to cover the problems that were caused by that. And they're just simply not going to be fast enough, swift enough to react to the flow of information that's going to be going. So we'll soon see. I don't know how the social media will react to it. And I think that the most likely reaction that they'll have is to shut it down. So they'll come up with denial of service attacks or something to say that YouTube and Twitter and some other things are taken down. Facebook, maybe, I don't know. But a few of these major services will be taken down when they become taken over. And so I'm expecting a wave of people to start posting videos to YouTube that they know will be taken off, and just because of the algos, but it'll start growing so fast that you can get them up there and the algos start bogging down. Same thing with Twitter, that people will just start posting things that they know that Twitter doesn't want you to say, and they'll take you down and shut you off. Then you're going to create another account and off you go all over again. And it's just going to keep going that way as the speed of the secrets revealed escalates. We're very close, today or tomorrow, I think.
Okay, so a couple questions about that. So I want to get into the bigger spiritual angle of things. If this is actually happening exactly as it was supposed to, meaning this drawn out, expose the darkness, expose all of the deception, expose everything again publicly, even for the people that are the normies and the sleepers to actually have to be exposed to. But right now in California, I don't know if you've been paying attention to it, you probably have seen it, but Larry Elder has raised a lot of money.
Yeah,
bang. Yes, in a very short amount of time. And the popular consensus is that they are going to recall the demon. I don't even want to say his name. And he is going to be put in. Now, let me ask you this question, because I've got smart people on my side that said, no, dude, that's not going to happen because the systems are so rigged that they will still fix it so that Larry Elder cannot recall the demon. What are your thoughts on that? Is it possible that we could actually see justice and we could get him out, or is the system so rigged there's no way it'll happen?
System has to crash. It can't gently wind down. So It would be gently winding down, trying to cover its ass if it was smart, by letting Larry in and slowly trying to hide everything it could possibly do. But it can't. It fears exposure. Anybody in that system that's monkeyed with the votes now fears exposure of an audit. What would Larry Elder do? Hey, he might institute a 2020 audit. Who knows, right? So no, I'm sorry to say the nice, gentle, kind way won't happen. In my opinion, the machine will do what the machine does, which is to cheat, keep Newsom in, declare a great victory, and the struggle begins from there.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So then the bigger, more overriding question is kind of what you alluded to at the beginning, which is this spiritual aspect of things. I call this the great spiritual test. The people who are refusing, to give up their power to this, quote unquote thing that, as you know, and I put a tweet up earlier too, that kills less than statistically 1% of the population. And that 1%, as you know, Cliff, is comorbid.
Sure.
It's insane.
Yeah. It is truly.
I mean,
there is no sanity to it. Yeah.
there's no sanity to it, but is this again from a spiritual, and we're not talking about space aliens yet, which I know you love to pontificate on, but like from a bigger overriding or overarching perspective, like in the sitting from the fulcrum, neutrally observing all of this, is this what had to happen? Do all these people like have to give up their, rights as human beings to realize like what they have done?
It is in the nature of reality that human beings are not in control. It is of the nature of reality that human beings possess a brain filled as an emulsified oil with microcrystals that we call neurons. This makes us antennae of the most incredible, exquisite sensitivity that we cannot duplicate that in any form, in any way that we might make. Our brains are the best antenna in universe that we are aware of, outside of perhaps those that are in whales. Okay, so given that the universe is filled with energy, it is filled with energy from stars, from cosmic rays, from planets, from energy bouncing off of planets, from planets moving around. Electricity and subsets of electricity abound within the ether. It is composed, it is shedding that like mad. We swim in this. So we must necessarily, with our antennae brains, be affected by it. Okay? And so it is true that we have great ages. And there was a great age that in a zodiac sign that we identified with Aries the ram. During that age, all of the peoples of the world came together in groups to cluster around ideas. And in that age, we had the formation of the monotheistic religions and the appearance of the great empires. Okay. In the next age, each age is about 2,780 years long. It takes us 3 years to leave, 3 years to enter the next age. These ages are marked by astrological symbols. During each age, the energy that is predominant differentiates from the previous age. We went from Aries the ram to Pisces the school, in which we all learned in the great coming together to school ourselves and be subservient to that school. Okay, we flocked, we were shepherded. And such the language refers to that. Now, as of the 28th of this past December, we have officially ended the 3rd year of entering into the age of Aquarius.
Right.
In the age of Aquarius, it is unique. This is the age in which the avatar for the zodiac is a human. There's no other one. It's all animalistic other than this one. In this age, knowledge and wisdom becomes differentiated down to the individual. So we are leaving the age of schooling, having possessed what we could take from schooling and from the great coming together of Aries, and we're now into an entirely different age. So we're passing truly through those last few days, and the people that are, in my opinion, that are casualties of this current war are so because of their karma and being too tied to the previous age, right? So it was necessary that these people pass from us at this time. And universe simply has arranged that things present itself that we do this work now, because on the other side of that, as these people pass, we must rise, right? It's our challenge, it's our task to be involved in this information war and to take Earth away from the monarchs and the popes and reclaim it for the people.
Beautifully stated. The Vatican. The truth is, and I want to ask you on this, and obviously I've gone back and forth with many very advanced people consciously on this. Like, do you see that somebody who did get the double B, and is still walking around, now questioning things previous to them, obviously not questioning, do you think that they can make it through, or do you think that everyone that donated their body to science is going to have to make a next go around?
No, lots of people will pass, but for many people, of course, the challenge, universe presents challenge, right? It doesn't care about our comfort. It doesn't.
Contrast, right.
And it presents challenge to us. Some people see challenges as curses, and others see challenges as blessings, but it's all challenge. Those people that signed up and took the procedure, there will be some cohort within there whose who did it, their karma had them do it for the challenge of recovery.
Right.
Okay. So I had cancer. I didn't choose to have cancer. Universe gave me cancer, and then it would not let me die of it. Okay.
Right.
I chose to do it my way and took it all the way to that last day, and took one pain pill after 30 years of an internal cancer, went to the hospital intending to die. And universe said, fuck you, and threw me back. Okay. I was not done. And so I had to spend 2 years in a recovery that you're aware of what I went through, right?
Absolutely.
I contacted you when I was
Yes, you
136
did.
pounds.
Yes.
Okay. So that recovery was not anything I ever wanted to go through.
Of course.
But karma obviously had me do it for all of the reasons that will come out of that. And so I think that there will be some subset of the people that have taken the procedure that will recover, and they may discover incredible things in so doing. But unfortunately, that is not a large subset.
So on that question, and I want to get deeper with you on this, how much of the experimentation, the gene therapy, how much of it is actually, Cliff, Russian roulette itself, meaning that not everybody who gets the quote unquote mRNA is actually getting anything but a saline or a sugar push, so that they are continuing to experiment on the population?
They're continuing to change the mixture. They initially put out some saline so that people wouldn't start dropping right away.
Exactly.
They get more of the herd in, sort of the Judas goat approach.
Right.
But now we also have something else intruding in there. You were mentioning Thailand. I've got friends in Thailand and Malaysia that are saying that in their areas, none of the doctors are actually administering any vaccine. They're simply handing out paperwork and telling the people to get along.
Wow.
Okay, so we've got what I call woo-tage, right? We're throwing the woo at the thing. And so we're obscuring to the deep state the way that they used to obscure to us. And so there are people that are doing this all around the planet. So now we're going to get into an area where it's going to be really interesting, because the fog of war is going to intrude on both sides, because we will have the administrations, the Kabbalists say, wow, hooray, this country's 97% vaccinated. And 97% of the people have the paper, but how many of them actually have anything that was ever
A quarter of it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so they won't get the response that they're expecting to get. Now, so look at what's happening in Israel at the moment. Israel, Gibraltar, Greenland, these areas were high
90% VED.
Correct. And low population. So, and also the population has a tendency to be relatively narrow in phenotypes, right? So we have a good description of this versus that kind of human, and not other kinds of humans, but this kind of human, what happens. And so we're seeing terrible things happen to these small countries. And the good news is that lots and lots of people are seeing this. Now, they won't be able to push their lockdown nor their vax anymore, the pass, because now it's coming out that not only cannot the free and natural human generate a variant, but also variants are not more transmissible.
Right.
But they're lying about that word. Okay, it is not within a virus to decide to be more transmissible or not. There's nothing in one virus that makes it more transmissible than any other. For instance, I've studied the virology. I took Yellow's course at Columbia University way back when this whole thing started, crammed through it. And it is in the nature of the human cell to be receptive to the virus and permissible. If it is receptive, the virus can latch onto the outside of the cell. If it's permissive, the cell can give that virus permission to use the internal mechanisms of the cell, and thus the virus can get at you. But here's the deal there. The virus doesn't change to make it more receptive to your cells. What changes is your cells. So what's making the virus more transmissible now is we're entering into periods of low light, and people are having lower vitamin D levels, and thus they are more receptive. The virus is not more transmissible. Right. No variant exists that is more transmissible than any other. And in fact, look, the most deadly virus on the planet is Nipah. When they discovered it, there were like 21 people that discovered it, and 70% of them died before they could get it into the lab. Now, all of these people were spelunkers, okay, cave habituators, and they were lab dwellers. And it turns out that all of them were extremely deficient in vitamin D, and Nipah is no more transmissible than coronavirus. It is deadlier if you are receptive to it because it'll kill you quick, but it is, but you have to be receptive to it. People that have adequate vitamin D can work around these viruses all day long and not get them.
Lower the inflammation, systemic, micros that a person has cellularly, the more immune they are, to any, disease variant or pathogen. And,
well, to that point,
we could go really woo, right? And
yeah.
if you're seriously resonant, as a being, you have no ability to be, invaded by a dissonant frequency. And, this is like, really master woo talk right here, but it's like, as long as you keep your inflammation low, your body fat relatively low, you're not destroying yourself, obviously, through toxins like alcohol, sugar, seed oils, all of these things that you and I have talked about many times in the past. You're relatively, it's harmless. As you said, obviously get high levels of vitamin D, be outside. I mean, but it's mind blowing, dude. Because again, when you look at the data is very clear, Cliff. The people that die from this are comorbid. There are very few people.
Yes, I know. And in fact, it's even more than that. The media hyped the death rates. They
of course
pimped this whole thing all out. And you're quite correct, though, but we don't even have to drop it down to the woo level, right? You don't have to look at it as being spiritually resonating and getting yourself all together. You can look at it as the scientists do, and you're still looking at exactly the same thing, which is energy. Because what they're saying, what makes a cell receptive is it has a low charge on it. It has a low electrical potential. You get a low electrical potential from the toxins, from the UV lights, from all of this stuff, the bad air, the bad water, the bad food, and so on. And your electrical charge throughout your body degrades, and it degrades within your mucous membranes, and thus you become receptive to that bacteria and all kinds of stuff. So the scientists are actually getting down to the point where they're studying it at a vibratory level, which gets them close to the ether, close to the idea of discussing it at a spiritual level, but nonetheless, they don't feel freaked out about it. And so we can discuss it as electrical charge. And you are 100% correct. So they're using electrical charge in the form of high specific ion generators to clear out the supposed virus. And they've been doing it. There's one outfit that I know of on a boat, and they've been doing some tests, and it is absolutely remarkably efficient. And they're going to go to this form of cleaning, and they're going to try and sell this to the cruise industry, right? Because they can put these little devices in each and every one of the cabins, shut the door after that person leaves. They only have to run it for 20 minutes, and it kills 99% of all the bacteria, kills fungus, it removes the odor, does all different kinds of stuff to that room, right? And gets rid of the viri. And it does it at an electrical charge level.
Right.
So we're getting really close on this, but the narrative has to break down further before we can start seeing all of this bust out, and things will not go back to normal. Everybody has to understand that, okay? I am not one of those people that says that, as of October 1, it'll all be good and we're back to normal.
Right.
I suspect that we'll have many airlines shut down. I suspect that in 2 years from now, flying will be a great privilege, simply because we'll have so few pilots and so few things everywhere. We're going to lose, if we were to look at it this way, they say 2 billion people contaminated with this product to some degree. I suspect that at least half of those are going to go. And it's going to take a lot of us in there going, because they're going to need a lot of care. And in the meantime, we're going to be going through this war where we're going to be busting out the information war into the open, and everything's going to get chaotic, and stuff is going to break down, systems are going to break down, and there will be a great deal of suffering, even though we have won at that point.
I'm 100% agree with you. And listen, I've traveled a lot in the last month, and the airlines are already in shambles. Flights are canceled. Multiple flights are canceled. They don't have crews. They don't have work crews. They're short stewardesses and airline attendants. The whole thing is becoming a fiasco. Nick, my partner, just flew out of here Friday night from San Diego. He flew in on Tuesday. and you're waiting an hour, 20 minutes to get your bags, to come up on everything is already starting to break down. So I'm with you 100%. Let's talk a little bit about it. And I know it's very difficult because this is not a kinetic war. From a timeline perspective, like what do you see over the next, say, 3 to 6 months as far as food, shortages, people having to truly rely upon themselves, and throw in there maybe to talk a little bit about the financial system, because we haven't talked about that, but where are we in that?
Yeah. Okay. So at the core of the enemy is the banksters. And so the banking system, as we understand it now, will be a natural casualty of what we're going of this war. So it's already coming unglued. It is, in my opinion, because I can't give financial advice, I've got to be very careful because I'm under surveillance and they'll come and snatch me away because they don't like me. But in my opinion, it would be safest if you had any form of wealth, which is calories that you want to store forward into the future,
right?
That you get it out of the banking system to do so, because the banking system and fiat currencies are unstable. This would imply cryptos. This would imply gold or silver coins. This would imply buying food now that you can get hold of. I'm all for that, because we are indeed entering into shortages, as I am experiencing here. So
right.
Now I have to go on a shopping expedition tomorrow. And instead of 80 miles, it'll likely be 160 miles round trip and some amount there. And that this will be the way of my life for some period of time, right? And so it's starting to, and I'm not alone, millions of people in my state are now in this same situation. And it's going to get this way all across the United States. The enemy class has no path to surrender. All right. So in World War II, Hitler could have surrendered and they would have chopped his head off or whatever, right? He could have surrendered at any time. And in fact, we see that the Japanese emperor did surrender. And there was a path to nonviolence from that point forward. In this information war, we do not have that path at this stage. And so we want to avoid a path that takes us into violence. And even within the violence, there is no path for the enemy class to surrender. The reason that there is it's because it's not nation states. Okay, we are looking at a global rebellion against the idea of kingdom,
right?
Of single sorts of power, of dictatorships anywhere, telling humans what to do. And so the people that would occupy those positions and would occupy the supporting positions feel their lives to be in danger, which they are, because there is nowhere for them to go. There will be no country that will accept them as refugees. There is simply, they could leave the planet if they could leave the planet, and that would satisfy all of humanity. If we could see them flying away, we wouldn't have to kill them. But as of this stage in this war, their perception is quite accurate. The things they have done to us have no state of forgiveness that I can find in me. And I'm certain that there are other people that would also agree that they cannot find within themselves the ability to forgive our enemy for what they have done. And so that presents all of us with the ultimate challenge, with a challenge of such moral depth that it will occupy all of the rest of our lives. I suspect, and I'm just guessing, I suspect that there's probably fewer than 3 million people on the planet that occupy the powers that be category.
Right.
And they're supporting 3,000 to 5,000 hardcore elitists. And so our goal is the displacement of those people. If they have the capacity to leave this planet, they would be well advised to do so.
Right.
I don't believe that to be the case, right? I think they were seeking that, but I don't believe that to be the case. And so I think that the worst part of the war is ahead of us. But the good news is that the minute that war breaks out in visibility to the normies, we win,
right.
even though we know that we then have to do the suffering.
Again, I'm 100% agreement. Okay, so from a timeline perspective, like at what point, I know it's, today's August 8th, obviously, but at what point are we really going to see major city, I don't know if I want to call it anarchy, But I mean, Cliff, you already know LA, New York, Miami, Seattle, these places
Seattle.
have already defunded the police.
Yeah.
Social services are not coming to save anybody if and when something bad happens in quote unquote your neighborhood. But where are we in your timeline right now?
I'll tell you where we're at right now. The sheriff in King County has told people not to go to the county building to work because there are people coming in and raping the employees in the bathrooms. So they're not returning to work at the government buildings. This is just what the communists did in Vietnam. All right. They made it so that government workers couldn't go back. Now, I don't think we need all these government workers anyway. We don't need the government this size, but we are at that point in the devolution of the whole situation. As a result of that, I think that we're actually going to see the initial phase of the breakout with the Mike Lindell and with the audit information coming out this month. How the deep state reacts will determine where the next battlefield is. They could not react and they could say, okay, we'll just let it ride here and see if it dampens off. It's not going to dampen off, so they'll then have to react later. I think they may be in a position where they think their safest approach is to react hard at the beginning. If that's the case, then it should be fairly evident to all of the normies by the time we get into September that the United States is occupied, and that in fact within that occupation there's a war going on. As soon as that war comes out to where the normies are starting to see it, we'll be getting into that mainstream media failing, where the mainstream media is talking today about an interview that a couple of people did 4 days ago, right? Not about what those couple of people were doing this day. And so that lag time, that failing ability to stay current is going to really defeat them. And that will be your sure sign that it's going to escalate and you're getting closer. And you guys, everybody can probably use this as a guide as to when things will happen more local to them. So if you see the local media in your environment, your local news shows in your cities and stuff starting to repeat the same issues as CNN, lagging behind everything, then you know that the breakdown is very imminent in your area, to the point where stores will be shuttering up and this sort of thing. There will be that time. I don't know how long it will be, but as this goes forward, we're going to get to the point where the occupation has to become visible.
Right.
And then if I'm correct, then the response to that occupation being visible, once the people that are responding are sure that the populace has seen it, are sure that they grasp, that the population grasps that they're the slaves of this dictator. At that point, I think the response will be very, very, very rapid, and things will happen so fast that we'll all have a hard time keeping up. And especially at that stage, because we're then going to have to switch to a new media. That is to say, at that point, as part of this, I suspect that there will be arrests of what we now call the mainstream media, probably pretty much wholesale. And at that point, we'll all go to your channel, go to my channel and BitChute, all this kind of stuff. But then we'll also have to have the formation of a new officialdom media as well. And when that happens, then we're 100% sure we're won. We're starting in on the recovery, even though we'll still probably have most of the die-off to go through at that stage.
So that's where my next question was. Okay, so this relates to that. You're okay on time right now?
Sure, I'm good.
Okay, good. So for all the people, and I know you get these messages as I do right now, and it's really heartbreaking to see so many people right now literally being forced to either quit their job, right? City, state, obviously federal's already long past, but it's coming down now, Cliff, where they are squeezing the corporations from a health insurance perspective. And it's like, you cannot have anybody on your payroll that's not jabbed. So what do you tell people right now, who are messaging you and I about like, what do I do? Should I quit? Or should I wait to get fired? Because as you know, if you get fired, you're not getting unemployment benefits, and they're already also saying that they will not allow you to be rehired in the marketplace because you got fired for refusing to receive the V. So I know that this may be not going to matter in the big picture, because like you said, if all things break down,
this matters to people because it matters to their lives constantly, right? It's their personal issue. And
Right.
I'm a fighter. So my approach would be
Course.
to make them fire me, right? Because
Right.
there's benefits to that. The very first thing I would do after being fired is to rush on down to my local employment security office in my state and file a complaint against a hostile workplace. As soon as they told me I had to take an experimental product
Right.
or get fired, at that moment, that day, I would go down on my lunch hour. I'd go take an hour off work at the end of the day. I would go and personally file a hostile work complaint to the state employment security. This establishes that you're dealing with that. And then when they fire you later on, that supports your claim. Then you go and file a claim for wrongful termination. Wrongful termination is very unique or very interesting in many states because it allows you to claim damages above and beyond lost wages and so forth. It also sets you up for personal suits. It also gives many attorneys a feeling of comfort taking on the case in a contingency fashion because the state is also working on your behalf against your employer. Never mind that the justice system is captured. Never mind that it won't work. Never mind that it will not lead to you getting the job or any of that stuff back. It will wear them down, and it provides you the legal authority for all of the suits and stuff that's coming. And bear in mind that we're going to have massive legal action as a response to this. So there are attorneys right now preparing sectionated class action suits so that everybody from this industry that had to get fired, everybody from that industry that had to get fired can join these various lawsuits in these class action. And then they can also pursue it within their own case structure within employment security. So by all means, make them fire you and do as much as you can to document the hostile workplace.
The harassment.
Exactly. So you can get your phone up there when your boss comes to give you the bad news, make him do it on video, right? And so be hostile about this. So the way I say it is that I personally would want to see how well they fight. So I'd poke them, right? I'd say, no,
I love this advice because, last week I was saying similar, not similar, but kind of opposite because I wasn't thinking along those lines because, a lot of the people are like, well, if I don't get my unemployment because I'm stuck in this normie job or whatever, this environment, the brainwash, that it would be easier for me to just go find another job. And to your credit or your point and credit, there are, as you know, so many people hiring right now, Cliff, because most people who have been brainwashed into the universal income BS handouts by the government aren't even working. There's so many people not working.
And I've got people that in my area, in rural areas, you'll find people that only want to hire unvaccinated because they don't want the spike issues, right? I know construction crews around here that if they start getting nosebleeds, you got to get fired for the new guy. But you're quite correct. But here's something else, right? In most states, go and check. If you file a complaint for a hostile work environment and then later are fired, you get unemployment during the period of time that your firing as a wrongful termination is adjudicated. And there's the thing of it. I know a guy personally that had a wrongful termination, not related to this at all. This was a couple of years back. And his wrongful termination took him 4 years to get adjudicated. And he got unemployment for 4 years.
Wow.
Not just the regular term. It's just a wacky system, right? So as I say, make them fire you, learn how well they fight, get your gumption up. They're all weak. We know that they're weak because they bought into the procedure. Their minds are weak. They're mentally controlled. They will not be able to sustain themselves if you show a little backbone and just keep pushing on them. And physically, they're weak. Their blood. Have you looked at the blood from the people that have taken this shot?
I know it's so true. Well, it's like you said last year. I think we were doing a show together that this was like gene extermination of normies.
Exactly, of the true believers. And that's the good news, is that the people that are doing it by and large are the true believers. Other good news is that people that I have, I'm outspoken. I'm an old raspy son of a bitch. So I talk to people when in my daily business and stuff. And some of those individuals are calling me in my local environment, asking my advice about this rather than just kowtow and get the shot. And I always tell all of these people, okay, the fact that you have called me, some of these people I might talk to once a month, right? And they went to the trouble of tracking my phone number down and getting hold of me and stuff. And I tell them, the fact that you have called me look at how much anxiety you must have to have gone to that trouble to do this, because you know what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you, run from that fucker with the needle, or run at him with a big baseball bat, you know?
An AR would probably be better than the baseball bat, but yeah, no, I got you. Okay. Well, I'm really glad you guys, I hope you guys are listening. This is some really prescient and highly relevant advice. And obviously, Cliff, I'm going to give you this video so you can put it on your BitChute if you want to. So a lot of people can see this, because as you know, they tend to block us and stop our message from getting out there. Okay. In regard then to the quote unquote die off, are we looking at a massive, literally, like as soon as it gets cold, as soon as vitamin D starts disappearing on the northern East Coast and the places where people that don't get a lot of outdoor sunlight exposure, are we looking at people just piecing out, them amping up the frequency? As you know, there's over 230 patents now on the mRNA and frequency modulation. I mean, it's incredible what's out there. But do you see this as the next move, just mass die off starting by winter?
It's already ramping up. We're in a situation where we've had a lot of volcanoes this year. There's 43 of them going. This is highly unusual. You don't have that many at this point. Usually there is a lot of dust from the Sahara. UV light, UVB, that gives you vitamin D, has been reduced between 3 and 16% on the planet, depending on where you live. Israel, for instance, got a lot of the dust from the Egyptian events, right? And so what do we see in Israel now? All of the illnesses. They saw 309 admissions in a single day. 75 or 80% of them were the procedured people that had their blood altered here. And so they were succumbing very rapidly. And these people had just reached a critical level of vitamin D and had succumbed. So they had become receptive and permissive. And so they had succumbed to it. So it is my thinking that we could recover a great deal of these people if we could convince them the necessity of maintaining vitamin D at these very high levels, okay? Because if you do, then all of your cells have an extremely high level of repulsive electric charge insofar as virus is concerned. So you vibrate really well. You're very healthy. You know, vitamin D works in 3,000 operations in the body that we're aware of. So it's my assumption that if we get these people that have had that procedure, we may be able to keep a great number of them from succumbing to it, although they will have continuing problems the rest of their life. As their blood shows, you know, within a day, their blood is like throughout their entire body. It's awful, Guy. I mean, it makes my stomach.
No, I mean, it's horrific. And again, you know, sometimes it's hard for me to even understand, you know, and I'll share a personal story, you know, like my family, I have a very big family, 9 kids. I'm the oldest, you know, and I refuse to go into the family Telegram group because the information it's such dissonance. And, you know, they literally recommend getting the V. The family does. And a lot of my family has gotten it. And I can't go in there. I'm not going to drop my frequency anyway, but it's like, you know, when I see this loved ones, it's very difficult, Cliff, but you are right. You know, what you said earlier about some of these people had to choose this from a karmic debt standpoint. This is what they had to pay off. This is what the universe made them go through. But,
this
you know,
is casualties of war.
Casualties of war. But one last question, and this could be, you know, you could probably take 15 minutes to discuss this. And you know, I want to be respectful of your time. It's Sunday. Do you see the die-off causing infrastructure disruptions globally that could send us into some form of apocalyptic scenario?
Well, okay, we got to choose our words, Guy. If you mean catastrophe.
Well, you know what I mean? Apocalyptic meaning like The Road, the movie with Viggo Mortensen, where like, you know, society kind of broke down and we were just in little, you know, miniature civilizations. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Okay, because apocalypse really means the revealing, right?
The revealing, yeah. Right. Apocalyptic as Hollywood has brainwashed us to hear.
Correct. Okay, but I actually do think it will be apocalyptic because we are in the revealing. And no, I don't think we're headed to a Road or a Mad Max scenario. However, you're quite correct. And you've already stated it. You have already experienced the degradation that's ongoing in the airlines. That's
Yes.
going to spread everywhere. That's going to get down to the DMV. It's going to get to the people that repair the traffic lights. It's going to get to the people that work in every single aspects of everything. If we're going to have, okay, so even without a die-off, we've got 2 billion people that have now been made ill by a medical hoax and an experimental product. Okay, so their level of functioning is instantly degraded and will continue to degrade even if it does not reach the point of fatality for them. And we will all be suffering that level of degradation, not only from the lack of performance of them within their role in our social order, but then they will also need people to take energy to back them up, to correct the brain fog mistakes, to clean up the accident that they just had driving home, that kind of stuff, right? So yes, we are in for this very long period of time that will go, I think, at least 3 years in a very serious weighting way on us. And maybe by 2024, we should be able to see that there is enough of a recovery that there might be a lightening in the global mood. But we have yet to reach that darkness, okay? This is the dark winter that's coming that Biden talked about. Now, he was talking about it for all of the people that are on his side,
Right.
because they know they're about to be attacked. But the dark winter for us is that we have to live through all of these people dying as casualties of war and being injured as casualties of war. This is what I have to say to you. Regardless of how you may interpret it karmically or whatever, we are in a war. These individuals have been killed or damaged as though a bomb had fallen on them.
Exactly.
And so your relatives were hit by a bomb. My relative has been hit by a bomb. There's nothing I could have done in an ordinary sense of a war to prevent that. So we can't take that on ourselves, but we can help them as the casualties as we go forward. And I'm urging everybody that's in our camp, so to speak, to, at this point, start putting aside those feelings of division, because these people will need aid.
100%. So before I let you go, then, like, what from an adjuvant medical supplement and medical side of things, when we attempt to help these people heal, for the ones that do make it through,
Sure.
Let's give them a really good strategy. I know you speak about NAC and obviously high levels of vitamin E and chaga and all of this stuff, but what are some newer things that maybe you've come upon that you think is like absolutely necessary for people who are attempting to heal from the damage to their mRNA and their DNA?
Okay, so there's been a great deal of discussion and effects coming out of proteolytic enzyme, okay, in removing the fibrin. And here's the issue. The spike protein is literally a hook. It's a folded protein. And it separates from the solution that they deliver it in, and it causes a particular kind of damage. So if you are around people that are shedding spike proteins and your body is replete with vitamin D and stuff, you will likely develop a nosebleed. Okay, you will likely develop these small symptoms from being around them. And that's because they're shedding spike proteins. Their bodies are making spike proteins and they're shedding it. In the process of shedding, their body is being scarred by the spike coming out, and it's causing these fibers to come in as scar tissue. So their body is being filled up with scar tissue. So this happened to my relative about 3 weeks after the injection, had to go into the hospital for a procedure to deal with scar tissue that was forming. The doctors are too dumb to recognize that this is part of an ongoing process in this individual, and they thought it was a one-time event. Never mind the fact that the scar tissue suddenly sprang up, right? And so what we're suggesting, because a lot of people are doing it in Europe, is proteolytic enzymes. Now, proteolytic enzyme can also be gotten in the form of some fermented foods like natto, okay? If you can stand the stuff. I mean, I can't even stand the smell of that, but there are these enzymes you can get that will help clear out the fibrin. To get rid of the spike protein, ivermectin does it. It will bind to the spike protein and flush it out of you. You may need to take it every week for some period of time because your body may actually have kicked in to continually making the spike protein,
Right.
S1 or S2, it doesn't matter. So proteolytic enzymes, which are available at health food stores and stuff, and NAC, vitamin D, lots of vitamin D just to protect the cells, and then ivermectin for binding the spike protein. I would not personally rely on dandelion leaf or pine needle or any of that, because the amount of any given active ingredient would be so minimal and you wouldn't know if it was going to be effective. So it would be a placebo to your brain, but would not be effective in your body. So I would go to the trouble of locating ivermectin, and you can get it in India, you can get it at all these online pharmacies, and I would take that. It's very, very safe. And this is saying I'm not giving medical advice.
Right.
It's for myself, right? If I'm around people with it, I've got to deal with it. So if I were working in a crew that was shedding spike proteins and I was suffering nosebleeds intermittently or other effects, I would take the ivermectin just to flush their spike proteins out of my body. The good news is that even though they shed them, and even though your body may react to them, your body is not going to uptake them and convert you into one of those factories. So they are wrong in that sense, right? The people that put this out as a self-replicating vaccine, they are wrong. It does not work that way. Just as they were wrong, the mRNA does not stay in the arm.
Mind-blowing stuff. Cliff, I will let you, well, actually, you're not shopping today, you're shopping tomorrow, but
tomorrow. Yeah, I got time. If I've got another 20 minutes before I have to do anything at all. So
okay, well, let's keep going then.
Ivermectin is, by the way, ivermectin is by weight. The standard dose is 12 micrograms for someone up to, I think it's 12 micrograms up to 190 pounds. You'd have to go and look. I had to convert from kilograms, and thereafter it's 1.5 pills. If you've got a kid that's under certain weight, they give them quarter pills, so 3 micrograms. But in between their teenagers, they take 6 micrograms.
Yeah, we bought, when I was down in Cabo San Lucas in May, we bought a ton of ivermectin. And by the way, the Mexican, the pharmacias are jacking up the price to the turistas, which is just a simple supply and demand economics. What other things can you give, maybe just from a proactive standpoint right now, where we are for people to be ready? I mean, obviously provisions, let's talk a little bit about crypto. Obviously you're a crypto guy, but what do you recommend for people that are still haven't walked down the crypto path to do right now with their money, as far as taking fiat and pushing it into crypto?
Boy, that's difficult, Guy. Because, first off, if they're going to do it, they need to get set up on the exchanges right away. That process is going to bog down and take them weeks. So if they were to try and sign up on Coinbase today, maybe they would be verified in 3 to 6 weeks. The world in 3 to 6 weeks is going to be rapid, or it's going to be entirely different than what we're dealing with now. Totally. At any given point, something could happen and the mainstream media will collapse. And this timeline thereon will disappear. So any advice I might give would be with the assumption that timeline still existed, but we would be down here.
Right.
In that world, exchanges may not be operating. Okay,
yeah.
Crypto will still be operating. People will still have computers. They'll still be trading cryptos back and forth. Some of the decentralized exchanges won't have any problems, but maybe some of the centralized ones will be taken down by the banking system, because the banking system is going to collapse. So I suspect that we will enter a period of time where we will leave the fiat currency at a local level. I suspect it will come to it that I will have to drive down in order to get gasoline. I will have to negotiate with the guy. Okay, well, will you take this gold coin, this little tiny 1/10 of an ounce gold, and let me fill up that car and all of these gas tanks, all these cans. We may get to that, right?
I agree.
I'm already at that stage now, trying to locate ordinary things in a grocery sense. So it does not matter if I have cash now, these things are unavailable.
Exactly.
Pretty soon they might be available, but the cash would be no good.
Exactly. I mean, Cliff, I always say chickens and protein powder and guns.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
I don't like protein powder, Guy. I'm really off on the whey powder and stuff. I've gone to
got to have the right mixture. It's got to be a complex amino acid spectrum. And I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but it is, this is not conspiracy talk. I mean, we are apparently or seemingly headed to that path.
It is conspiracy talk. We're just not wrong. And so here is a truism that's circulating on the internet. In the 1920s, it was the people on the fringe that said that the crash was coming.
Right.
In the 1930s, it was the people on the fringe that told the Jews to get out of Germany and get out of Europe. Okay. And in the 1940s and the 50s and 60s, all the way up until 2008, it was on the fringe, the people on the fringe that said, hey, there's a big real estate crash coming. Okay. And so now it's the people on the fringe say don't go near those people with needles.
Right.
So,
Right.
and now the people on the fringe are saying a war is about to break out. Get your shit together.
How far would you, I mean, it's
Oh,
a opinion
by the
question,
way,
but
let me throw in one thing.
yeah.
Fuel filters, air filters, and oil filters. Better stock up for any vehicle you want to keep running. This might go on for years. It will go on for years because it will come out that the CCP was active and involved in this. We're already at war with them to the point that they're shutting off supplies to us. So we may get to the point where, rubber is rationed and fuel filters are rationed, that kind of thing, just to get us through.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So do you, do you recommend people that are living in major cities right now leave, or is it too late?
I'm somebody that's very sensitive to where they are. So I could never live in a city. I've done it. I lived in very large cities in Europe and stuff. I would suggest that it's not wise, but at this point, trying to get out, trying to find a place to live, all of that is going to be extremely difficult. It's going to depend on their individual circumstances. So I wouldn't necessarily I would hesitate to make that recommendation to anybody. A lot of people are going to be better off in the cities because as opposed to trying to uproot themselves and do all of that and relocate. Now, I've done this 2 years ago, and I know what a royal pain it is. So trying to get out now is going to be quite difficult. If you're young and you can throw everything into a vehicle and just head out, it's no big deal. Well, maybe then it might be really a good idea to exercise that option and go walkabout as the cities start breaking down, because there is one real truism here. You'll find more food out in the country. So when it really breaks down here, I can just, go on down to the beach and fish, that kind of thing. And so that's not an option for a lot of people in the cities.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's funny that we're talking about this, but it's important that we are.
And so along that line, if you're in those kind of circumstances, buy fishing line, get fish hooks, et cetera, right? If you got to go hunt, get the appropriate ammo and get it stored now.
Have you seen, or from where your vantage point is in Washington, are you seeing the skies from the fire in Northern California? Is that even close to you? Are you seeing it?
No,
it's
not. It's not close to me. We're getting this stuff out of Canada. Okay, we're getting some of the ash from the volcanoes slowly drifting down from Alaska. So we're not seeing a lot of the fire actions from there. But usually here's the thing. As of yesterday, I think the current changed. So we're now officially entering into winter, right? And so the beach is behaving differently and so on. And so the current will change and we'll start getting less draw from the south anyway. And so I suspect that what will happen is that all of that activity is going to head east, whereas it had been drifting north and south along the coast. And now I think we're going to get all of this weather coming from the north in a fairly serious way.
Well, I mean, I didn't know this until yesterday, but this Dixie fire in Northern California right now is already statistically the worst fire in the history of the state of California. It's burned more acres and destroyed more property than anything before it. And it's mind blowing because my friend just drove up along through Central California to Reno. He was down with me this week and he was like, bro, man, it's bad. Like it's ash everywhere. Yes.
Yeah. I've actually was going to say that I know people that are in Southern Oregon that are getting enough. These guys are old hippies that make pottery and stuff, and they're getting enough ash coming down. They're collecting it to use in glazes. So they're getting like literally blowing up to their area, and they'll walk on out. It's like a snowfall, 2 and 3 inches.
Wow, incredible, man.
Yeah.
Well, very, very interesting days ahead. I really appreciate you, as always, coming on here today. Is there anything else you want to promote or position before we end the show?
No, my Pure Sleep is back in stock. If people want to go get that, it helps them sleep during these troubling times, and it has stuff to aid your body in recovery. I made it for recovering from the cancer, and it's done me well.
Amazing. What's the website for that?
You can get it at Pure Bulk, purebulk.com. Just hunt for Clif High's Pure Sleep. And like I say, it's back in stock and they've got a couple of batches there, so we're good for a little while. But I expect that everybody should start accommodating the disruption in the supply chains. do what they can for themselves and others. It's going to be rough and very, very hard time on us. The good news to this is that we're going to get a lot of the good news, and then we simply have to live through the bad news part, right?
Right.
So once you see this breaking out and the problems with the mainstream media totally shutting down and these kind of things, then we'll know that I'm accurate on this. And so during that period of time, during the hard times, it's not like we're all going to just stop, because we will be in recovery at that point as well. People will be doing things to make it better. It's just that it's going to take a long time to come out of a pit that has been 120 years of digging.
Do you think the fake administration goes down?
Oh, sure, they're going to be gone, dude. Oh no, they were fake. They were illegal. No one gave them credence. We didn't put our energy behind them, even when they were the second day of their administration, their regime. Even then, they knew, and see, look at it from their perspective. They know that probably less than 20% of the populace voted for them.
Right.
They know they're illegitimate. They're broadcasting it out continually. We're not paying attention to it. They're being harried and harassed all around. I don't know how it will come, but it will be most amazing to watch this collapse. But they will be out of our hair here long before the end of the year, I think.
Clif, I appreciate, and always it's
Sure,
an
guy.
honor to speak with you. As you know, the way I look at you, you're a living master, and thank you for all you do for humanity. I'm sure I'll be in touch with you in the very near future. As you know, if I can serve you, let me know. Okay, brother.
Sure, no worries, Guy. Live long.
I'll send you the link for this so you can put it on your BitChute, because I think it's a pretty
Yeah.
awesome podcast. So I'll upload it to my Dropbox and I'll email you the link.
Cool.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
See you soon. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Hey guys, bye bye.